Have you ever felt genuinely guilty just for having money in the bank?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but it is a surprisingly common feeling.
Right. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating stack of research and foundational principles regarding biblical personal finance.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to answer a surprisingly controversial question, which is how do you aggressively build long-term wealth without losing your soul in the process?
Exactly. Because let's be honest, you log into your banking app, and for the first time in your adult life, there are zeros at the end of your balance instead of a minus sign.
Which is an incredible feeling, by the way.
It's huge. You've done the incredibly hard work, you've
Mhm.
slashed the budget, you've lived way below your means, and you've completely eliminated your consumer debt.
Right, the credit cards are gone, the car loans are gone.
Gone. Plus, you've built up that fully funded emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of household expenses just sitting there in a savings account.
Yeah, so if the car transmission blows out or the roof starts leaking, you just write a check.
Exactly. It is merely an inconvenience now, not a life-altering crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this, because getting to this milestone requires a massive psychological shift.
It really does.
You are transitioning from playing strict financial defense to playing financial offense. And honestly, that transition is jarring.
It is so jarring. I mean, when you are fighting your way out of debt, your objective is just crystal clear. Every extra dollar is a weapon deployed against a very obvious enemy.
Right, the debt is the bad guy.
Exactly. But once that immediate crisis is over, you suddenly have to figure out how to walk normally again. The next phase of a sound financial plan, which we often call the fourth baby step in financial stewardship, involves intentionally investing 15% of your gross household income for retirement.
Which on paper sounds like a victory lap. Right. But in reality, for a lot of sincere Christians, it introduces this massive internal conflict. You hit this wall of quiet guilt. You secretly start wondering if it is actually permissible for a believer to purposefully accumulate riches.
That tension is so real. I mean, getting out of debt feels like cleaning out a cluttered, filthy garage.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, you are throwing out the junk, you're organizing the tools, you're restoring order to chaos. It is an obvious moral good. You can feel really proud of it.
Right. Nobody feels guilty about cleaning their garage.
Exactly. But building wealth feels completely different. Suddenly, it feels like you are adding a luxury expansion to the house. You start looking at the blueprints and you immediately question your own motives.
Yeah, you wonder if you are suddenly becoming the villain in a biblical parable.
Right, which brings up a verse that gets thrown around constantly in these moments. 1 Timothy 6.0. People quote it all the time, saying, "Money is the root of all evil."
Oh, I hear that one almost every week.
But looking closely at the text, that is not what the Apostle Paul wrote. He specifically stated that the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil.
Right, the love of it. That is a massive distinction.
It alters everything. Because money itself does not have a moral character. It is simply a tool in your hand, like a brick. You can use a brick to break a window, or you can use it to build a hospital.
Exactly. The moral weight lies entirely in the heart of the person holding it.
Right. So how do we navigate that heart issue when the account balances start getting bigger?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, think about preparing a special family meal. Let's say it is Friday afternoon, you are cooking a really beautiful dish to welcome the Sabbath, and you reach for the salt.
Okay, I'm with you.
Used in the proper measure, that salt brings out all the best flavors of the food. It enhances the nourishment and brings balance to the meal. But if you accidentally pour in an entire cup, or if you somehow decide to build your entire diet around consuming nothing but salt,
Which would be terrible.
it would ruin the meal. And it literally becomes destructive to your physical health. Well, money operates through the exact same mechanism.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, in its proper place, it provides shelter, nourishment, Christian education for your children, and the incredible ability to bless others. But when acquiring it becomes your driving purpose, when it becomes the center of your affection, it just corrodes the soul.
I understand the balance you're describing there, but I still think a lot of listeners feel a residual sting of guilt just for wanting to save.
Sure.
Because we are taught to rely daily on providence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that the drive to save up for the future is actually a lack of faith?
What's fascinating here is a profound reframing that's taught within deep Christian stewardship. Think about the writings of Ellen G. White, for example. There is this understanding that the desire to accumulate wealth is actually an original affection of our nature.
Wait, really? An original affection?
Yes. It was implanted there by our Heavenly Father for noble ends. God actually designed us with the capacity to build, to plan, and to grow resources. He didn't place that drive within us so we would hoard it like a dragon sitting on a pile of gold.
Right, right.
He placed it there so we could use it for His kingdom. I mean, we are meant to build wealth, to provide absolute stability for our families, to ensure we don't become a financial burden on our children or our church community in our old age.
That makes a lot of sense.
And most importantly, so we have the immense capacity to be a massive blessing to others. By managing these entrusted talents wisely, we are actively honoring the giver.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the family budget sitting on the kitchen table?
Good question. Let's get practical.
Yeah, because we understand the theology behind why God allows and encourages wise building. But how do we actually execute this without getting completely overwhelmed? You're debt-free. You have the emergency fund intact.
Yeah.
Let's break down the actual mechanics of this 15% rule.
Okay, let's do it.
Why 15% anyway? Why not? Like 5% or 30%?
Well, the percentage is highly intentional because it creates a necessary mathematical and lifestyle balance.
Okay.
If you only invest 5% of your income, you will never outpace inflation and medical costs enough to actually support yourself in your later years. You will literally run out of money.
Which defeats the whole purpose of saving so you aren't a burden later.
Exactly. On the other hand, if you try to invest 30 or 40%, you will financially strangle your current family budget.
Right. You'd feel broke all over again.
Yeah, you won't be able to pay your mortgage, buy groceries, or give generously today. So, 15% is the exact mathematical sweet spot. It provides enough forward momentum that compound interest will build serious wealth over a few decades, but it leaves 85% of your income completely free.
Free to live your life, support your local church, and care for your family.
Precisely.
That makes perfect sense. So where exactly does this 15% go? Like, I'm staring at my pay stub. What is the very first move?
You start by looking at your workplace retirement plan. Depending on where you work, this is usually called a 401k. Or if you work for a nonprofit, a hospital, or school system, it might be a 403b.
Right. A lot of our listeners are in that category.
Yeah. You want to contribute to that account up to the exact point of the employer match.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Because the concept of the employer match is something a lot of people just gloss over. And it is crucial.
Oh, it is the most important part.
An employer match is essentially free money. If your employer says, we will match your contributions up to 5% of your salary, and you choose not to contribute, you are literally leaving a portion of your compensation sitting on the table.
Exactly.
From a stewardship perspective, you are abandoning resources that could secure your family's future or fund kingdom work.
You take the match every single time.
Every time.
Yeah. Once you have secured that match, your next priority is a Roth IRA. You want to fully fund a Roth IRA for yourself, and, if you are married, you fully fund one for your spouse as well.
Break down the tax advantage of the Roth IRA for me, because financial jargon loses people instantly.
It really does.
Why go through the hassle of opening this specific account instead of just dumping the money into a regular savings account at the local bank?
Well, it comes down to the mechanism of how the government taxes your money. Imagine you are a farmer planting a crop. You can either pay taxes on the small bag of seeds you buy in the spring, or you can wait and pay taxes on the massive harvest you bring in during the fall.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A traditional retirement account taxes the harvest, but a Roth IRA taxes the seed. You pay taxes on your income today before you put it into the Roth account.
So it's after-tax money going in.
Right. And because you have already paid the tax, all the growth, all that compound interest over the next 20 or 30 years is completely tax-free when you pull it out in retirement.
That is massive. So if you put in, say, $50,000 over your lifetime and it grows to $500,000,
you don't owe a single dime of taxes on that massive harvest.
that is incredible. But what exactly are we putting inside the Roth IRA and the 401k? Because an IRA is just an empty bucket, right? You have to choose what to fill it with.
Correct. It's just a tax shelter. Inside those accounts, you want to invest in good growth stock mutual funds.
Now, I'm going to push back here a little bit.
Go for it.
Why just boring mutual funds? If God wants me to grow these resources for His kingdom, shouldn't I be trying to grow them as rapidly as possible?
I see where you're going with this.
I mean, why not jump into day trading individual stocks or get in on the latest cryptocurrency craze? My neighbor made 20 grand on a random coin last month. Shouldn't I be trying to maximize the return?
That temptation to shortcut the process is a universal human flaw. But true biblical stewardship is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, that's fair.
Chasing crypto crazes, day trading, or putting all your family's security into one or two risky single stocks that is not investing. That is speculating. Frankly, it is gambling with God's money.
Wow. Yeah, it really is.
It relies on chaotic, emotional highs and lows.
So how does a mutual fund fix that? What is the actual mechanism that makes it safer?
Well, a mutual fund is fundamentally about diversification. Instead of trying to find the one single needle in the haystack, the one company that might explode in value, you are just buying the entire haystack.
Oh, I like that analogy.
When you put your money into a mutual fund, you are pooling your resources with thousands of other investors to buy tiny fractions of hundreds of different successful companies.
So you spread the risk out.
Exactly. If one of those companies has a terrible year or even goes bankrupt, your overall portfolio barely feels it because it is supported by the other 99 companies. You aren't looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. You are methodically participating in the steady growth of the overall economy.
I see. It removes the panic. But even with mutual funds, it still feels so slow at first. I mean, you put in a few $100 a month and it feels like you were barely moving the needle.
It does feel slow initially, and that is where the magic of compound interest comes into play.
The snowball effect.
Yes. Compound interest is simply the process of your interest earning its own interest. Think of it like rolling a small snowball down a massive snow-covered mountain.
Right.
At the very top, you are using your own physical energy to pack the snow together and push it. That is your 15% monthly contribution. It takes effort. But as that snowball rolls further down the hill, its surface area grows.
It starts picking up more snow on its own.
Exactly. Soon, the sheer size of the snowball is picking up more snow with every revolution than you could ever pack with your own hands. By the time it reaches the bottom of the mountain, it is a massive boulder.
That's amazing.
In investing, your money eventually reaches a tipping point where the interest it earns in a single year is actually greater than the amount you contributed from your paycheck. The math just does the heavy lifting for you.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because as that snowball gets bigger, as the compound interest does its job, a completely new dynamic enters your life.
It really does.
You set up these automatic deductions, you buy your mutual funds, and 5 or 10 years later, you wake up, check your app, and there is a very significant amount of money sitting there.
The plan works.
The mechanics are working perfectly. But suddenly, the danger shifts entirely. The threat is no longer the suffocating stress of credit card debt. The threat is the intoxicating comfort of the growing balance.
This is the most critical spiritual dimension of this entire phase. As your retirement accounts swell, and if you follow this disciplined plan, they absolutely will swell. You will face an incredibly subtle, quiet temptation.
Yeah.
You will be tempted to place your foundational trust in that growing balance rather than in the God who provided the income in the first place. Jesus addressed this directly, head on, in Luke 16:13.
What does he say there?
He stated, "You cannot serve God and wealth." Notice the phrasing. He didn't say you shouldn't serve both or that it is difficult to serve both. He said you cannot. It is a literal impossibility to have two ultimate masters.
I have to admit, I struggle with this reality personally.
We all do.
When the economy is booming, I feel incredibly secure. But when the stock market takes a massive hit during a recession and I watch my retirement account drop by 20% in a month, my peace of mind completely evaporates with it.
Right.
How do we build a financial fortress to protect our families without accidentally locking ourselves inside it?
Well, that visceral physical reaction you feel when the market drops, that is the diagnostic engine light on your soul. It is revealing exactly where your trust is anchored.
Wow. That's a hard truth.
It is the difference between managing wealth and being managed by it. It is entirely appropriate to manage wealth wisely, but the moment your investment portfolio becomes your ultimate source of peace, a dangerous line has been crossed. God sees past the facade we project.
We are so good at hiding that facade too, especially in our church communities.
Oh, definitely.
We project this flawless image of the responsible Christian saver. We drive the modest 5-year-old sedans. We don't have credit card debt. We wear practical clothes. We look like the ultimate models of wise stewardship.
Right. On the outside, everything looks perfect.
But internally, if our anchor has subtly shifted from Christ to our 401k balance, we have completely lost the plot. The fortress has become a prison of our own making.
Exactly.
So if the profound danger of this baby step is trusting the snowball we are building, What is a safeguard? How does a family actually stay grounded when the numbers just keep getting bigger?
The ultimate antidote to materialism, the only mechanism that consistently and brutally breaks the grip of greed on the human heart, is radical generosity.
Generosity.
Yes, this is precisely why returning a faithful 10% tithe and giving generous offerings above and beyond that is absolutely crucial during this wealth-building phase. It is not an optional, polite add-on to your budget. It is the core mechanism of your spiritual survival.
Giving is physical. It is an action that forces your brain to recognize a new reality. When you sit down at the kitchen table with your spouse or you pull out your phone to give to the church, you are taking physical dollars that you could mathematically drop right into your Roth IRA to make your snowball bigger, and you are willingly releasing them.
You feel it.
You feel a literal pinch when the money leaves your account.
Yes, and that pinch is the breaking of the grip of selfishness. Returning the tithe first, before you ever calculate that 15% for your retirement, acts as a constant rhythmic reminder that God is the true owner of every single dollar we manage.
Because we are just the stewards, right?
We are just the managers of the estate. When you give intentionally, you are actively declaring to your own heart that money is a tool, not a master.
I've seen some families take this even further, and it completely shifts their entire family culture.
How so?
Well, once they are debt-free and have their emergency fund, they look at their growing surplus, and instead of upgrading their lifestyle, they decide to elevate their giving dramatically.
Oh, I love that.
We're talking about underwriting a massive mission project overseas or fully funding a student's tuition at the local Adventist school so a struggling family can get a Christian education.
Yeah.
It becomes this tangible, undeniable declaration that honoring God is paramount, regardless of how much their income grows.
That is so powerful. And it raises an important question for all of us regarding our default lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
When your income goes up, or when you finally free up cash flow by eliminating your monthly debt payments, the absolute default human assumption is lifestyle inflation.
Right. I have more money, so I should spend more money.
Yeah. We assume almost subconsciously that we should immediately buy a nicer car, move to a larger house, or start eating out at expensive restaurants. But elevated giving flips that script entirely.
It really does.
It short-circuits lifestyle inflation. Whether you are returning 10%, 20%, or supporting a specific local ministry, the underlying principle remains the same. Generosity keeps your heart soft. It keeps your priorities ruthlessly aligned with heaven. I mean, it is incredibly difficult to bow down and worship money that you are consistently, intentionally giving away to bless someone else.
So what does this all mean when we look back at the big picture? Moving into this phase of investing 15% for retirement is far more than just a slick financial strategy.
It really is.
It is a profound, lifelong spiritual discipline. By managing this wealth with integrity and utilizing tools like mutual funds and Roth IRAs, you are honoring the talents God has entrusted to you.
Yes.
You are securing your family's future so you won't be a burden on society. And most importantly, you are setting the stage for a lifestyle of joyful, radical generosity. Being faithful in the little things today and the steady, sometimes boring discipline of budgeting and delayed gratification leads directly to God entrusting you with much.
It absolutely does. The discipline you establish today echoes for decades. And as we wrap up our discussion, I want to leave you with a completely different way to look at this wealth you are building.
Okay, I'm listening.
We've spent this entire time talking about money, percentages, and accounts. But what if the ultimate goal of building financial wealth isn't just about giving your dollars away?
What do you mean?
What if the true goal of that 15% is to eventually buy back your time? Imagine reaching your later years completely financially secure because of the seeds you planted today.
Okay.
Because you don't need a paycheck anymore, you can give 100% of your days completely free of charge, volunteering for a cause, a ministry, or a community that desperately needs your wisdom and your hands.
Wow. That completely changes the paradigm. You aren't just building a retirement account to go sit on a beach somewhere. You are funding your future capacity to serve without limits.
Exactly.
It reminds me of the psychological shift we started with. Getting out of debt feels like dropping that heavy backpack. It's a huge relief.
It is.
But as you start this new hike, as you begin measuring out the salt for the feast, you realize that every dollar invested is just a tool being sharpened for future use. You are building a legacy of faithfulness, one disciplined month at a time. And that is a journey worth taking.